Hello everyone, this is Anish Gupta, and today we have among us Kisna Shetty, who scored a rank of 22 in AILET and is also a potential CLAT topper with a score of around 99. Joining us today, we have Aditya Bhargav, who was the mentor for Kisna Shetty throughout the mentorship program, and we really hope that Kisna had to something to drive from NLTI, if not to the fullest. Kisna, how was your reaction? What was your reaction when the result came out? Did you expect getting a rank of 22? How did your exam go? Did you really feel that you'll get NLUD, leave alone getting a rank of 22? So, how was the feeling, if you could describe it in words?
Yeah, okay. So when I got the result, I absolutely did not expect rank 22. Myself, I didn't even expect to get into an LUD. It's just when I messaged messaged you guys and you told me that there's a good chance you get into an LUD. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I might just get in. But rank 22, I never expected because I never put in that kind of prep for AILET. But I guess we'll get to that part of it later. uh,
Yeah.
the paper itself was okay, like, because I didn't expect much from the paper. I didn't go in with a lot of pressure per se. So yeah, I think that's what made a huge difference. But again, yeah, let's get to that.
What was your parents' reaction? Were they very excited, or do they consider AILET very relevant, considering that you are already coming to NLS?
Uh, they were excited. I think they were more excited than me because I didn't really have any reaction to the entire thing. I was very surprised by it. It was just like, oh, okay, well, oh, this happened. It was so unexpected that I didn't even know what to do. So I told them, and yeah, they were quite happy. And I didn't think they'd let me go to Delhi. Uh, but they said that if NLS doesn't work out, which hopefully it does, then yeah, fine, fair enough with Delhi. So yeah,
Great.
they were quite happy. Actually, the person who was most happy was my granddad. He was one of the first people I called after the entire thing. So, yeah, he was the happiest, I guess.
Right. So the first question that I want to ask you is: did you ever prepare specifically for AILET, or was it always CAT oriented and like AILET ho gaya bas, like in the process it just happened that you managed to crack AILET with an amazing rank, or were you like sometime or throughout your entire CLAT prep or AILET CLAT prep journey, did you ever think of clearing AILET specifically?
Yeah, I also have a follow-up question for that. I think, Krishna, if you could like tell us, like when did you start preparing? Because like, were you like a 1 year person preparing for law entrances, or did you prepare for entire like 2 years in entirety?
Okay, so to be completely honest, me it was three because I was very clear in like eighth, ninth itself that CLAT is what I'm going to do. So in
Okay.
tenth grade, I knew I'd made up my mind. So I thought like might as well just go for coaching. And yeah, so I joined coaching in tenth, but again I didn't really do much the entirety of tenth because that was that was 2020. So that was the entire online year. So I just attended classes for a bit. I didn't really do anything in terms of GK or specific prep. I started writing mocks in 2021, I think. Yeah, so that was when I was in 11th grade. So proper prep, I think year and a half, a little more a little more than that in terms of proper prep. But since I was always clear, my mind was just always quite focused on CLAT, not really in terms of prep initially, but generally. Uh, Coming to the AILET question, I was actually considering not writing AILET in like September, August, because I was like, what's the point? Because I know because in my head, my parents had told me that Delhi is not an option. So in my head, I was just like, why am I wasting 3,500 on the registration? That was my outlook then. But then I
Yeah.
realized it's 1 week before CLAT, so I'll just give it a shot. I was so with regards to AILET, I had no prep at all. So it was just CLAT. AILET was just something that I was just writing. In fact, I was joking with my friends before AILET that at least I'll get to see NLS once, whatever happens. So like that was the intention with which I went into the AILET paper. I wrote three. The AILET paper was my third AILET mock per se. Before that, I wrote the AILET 22 paper, and I did one AILET mock, and then I went into the paper.
Yeah. So coming to academic questions, very academic questions. So what was your strongest section in AILET as well as CLAT, and how were you able to capitalize on it? So if it was English, so how did you like try to build upon your English to ace that particular section?
Uh, to be completely honest, since the start, I've never had a specific uh, section where I felt extremely confident or extremely comfortable. But at the same time, I've not had any section where I've been very bad at. So I have been consistently average, above average in all the sections, and that's what kind of helped me. Uh, I have never at any point said that this is one section, and I'm going to try to make the maximum amount of effort there. Probably to an extent in GK, because I never felt very confident with GK. With regards to English and logic, it was just the mocks. I've never even done sectional tests. I've never sat and done sectional tests because they felt counterproductive to me in terms of just sitting for half an hour. It didn't give me the feel of the writing an exam and the fatigue of that comes with the 2 hours. So for me, it was just mocks. I've never focused on one section. Vocab, I think I could have done more than what I did in terms of prep. That's something I felt I could have done a little bit more, maybe squeezed a couple marks here and there, even in class. But in terms sectionally, no, just GK. GK is the only place that I put an extra effort. Apart from that, no.
Right. Aditya, you wanna go? Right.
Yeah, okay. So I think I really want to talk about the paper, like AILET paper specifically, because that we are still awaiting CLAT results. Because I think we talked to a lot of people who probably wrote like 50 marks of AILET as well. But like, how do you like? I just wanted to ask that. Do you think that just because you went into that paper with that mindset that I need to just probably I will just look at the paper and attempt whatever I can, and then I'll see what next, right? So like, do you think that that kind of mindset really helps in papers like this versus somebody who is like expecting too much out of that paper?
Yeah, I think that helps a lot, especially while writing the paper. But even before the paper, I expected the paper to be exactly like the AILET 22 paper because that's again one of the only experiences I had, and I wrote that paper a couple days before AILET, and my only strategy was just go as fast as possible.
Okay.
Because it's a straight sprint from start to finish, and I don't think you can do that with CLAT because with CLAT, if you have a certain reading speed, you can pace yourself and be more focused in some sections, and can afford at times to be less focused in other sections and just do it on a rote basis on something like GK. But yeah, with regards to the paper itself, yes, that helped a lot. It actually did because the format change, if I can call it that, didn't really affect me at all because I didn't go through the entire paper of it before starting my attempts.
Okay.
I just realized GK was at the end because when I opened the booklet, it opened from the back. So I just realized GK was at the end. So in my head, I had decided when I have half an hour or 20 minutes left, uh, disregarding the rest of the paper, I'll go to GK, finish GK, and then come back to whatever I have left. So I started the paper and was a little confused with the English followed by logic for each passage. And I thought it would be only for like one set or two sets. But like at some point I realized, okay, this is how the entire paper is. Uh, the only thing that threw me off was the blood relations one. And expect three passages. There were three, no, on blood relations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect that many. And since I hadn't done any AR prep per se, I just did what I could with regards to common sense. And honestly, that the format change I think helped me a lot because of my mindset in the paper. That I was just, I'll go with the flow. Like there's nothing I have to lose here. So just go as fast, attempt as many as I can, and deal with it. While for other people who might have prepared specifically for AILET and like you said, expected a bit too much, it might have thrown them off more. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, I mean, we'll talk about CLAT also, I think, in this particular interview itself. But I think, so say, for example, 24 people would be like really interested to watch this video, right? So, like, what would be your what would be your advice to probably 24 aspirants who would probably take both CLAT and AILET together and say they will basically prioritize CLAT over AILET? So how would you like? What advice will you give to them with respect to AILET?
With regards to
Yeah,
AILET
just
specifically,
to add on to that, we are not really sure what the pattern would be next year.
Yeah.
Would NLU Delhi stick with this pattern or go back to the previous pattern or like altogether invent something new? So what do you suggest, like how to go about the paper, how to go about the prep? Should it be very reading oriented or should we also focus on analytical reasoning as you are saying blood relations? So what should be the holistic strategy for AILET now?
Yeah, again, with AILET, it's very, very difficult to say because, like I said, you don't know what they will do next year. So again, the advice would mainly be stick to like prioritize CLAT. So at any point, if you feel like I can do something with regards to CLAT or something with regards to say AR, do what you're doing for CLAT because that is going to help you in AILET too with regards to your reading speed, which I think was what helped me a lot because the main thing with AILET is just squeeze in as many attempts as possible with and just take as many guesses as possible. If you can narrow it down to 50-50, always take it. Like
Yeah.
sometimes in the paper, I think I even took somewhere I could only eliminate one option, but I just took a gander because I spent that time on that question. There's no point then moving on and not attempting that question. I don't know if that's the best advice because I haven't had that much of an AILET prep to have the best idea. But I'd say focus on CLAT. Do AR. Don't completely neglect AR with
Yeah,
regards
I
to
think
sequences and all of that. Sequences and even blood relations. Because say it's not your day, CLAT. You always have AILET, right? Because now I'm much more calm for CLAT now that I know that at least I have somewhere else to go to. That is a really, really good college. So that really helps. And even if both don't work out, you have other exams that will have AR. You have other law exams that definitely will have AR. So there's nothing you're going to lose by doing AR. So you can do AR. Just get the basics of most of your concepts in order. So in terms of blood relations, I never did a lot of blood relations, but the little bit I did in terms of basics, I used to always make like a figure, like a flow chart kind of thing with blood relations, and just that much got me like the few marks in blood relations. I think that those were the passages that I lost the most marks if you compare it to the rest of the paper, but just basics in certain sections will help you. And especially in especially in ALET, even if they give AR, it tends to be easy. I'm not talking about the blood relations here, but I think there was an entire set about towers, which was very, very easy to do. Like you don't even need you didn't even need prep for that. Just basic visualization would have got you like 5-6 marks there. Uh, I left that to the end of the paper, so I couldn't attempt all the questions in that. I did, I think, four, but that was easy. So things like sequences and all those basic AR questions. I don't think any other mocks except Legal Edge has that. But if you can get specific AR books, uh, I don't think there's a point doing the entire book because after a certain point you're not going to gain much by just blindly going at AR. So just make sure your basics in these common concepts are sorted. If anything else, you just rely on your little bit of common sense. I guess it's not really
right.
much.
I think I used to like tell my mentees even like while they were preparing that CLAT is probably the only exam that does not ask you AR. Because I mean, all the others do, right? So I think having a good base there also would help you, and probably all the exams, if not CLAT, right? And ultimately, it's logical thinking. So even doing some AR would help you in some indirect way in CLAT also, right? Because
It
it,
does. It does. It certainly
yeah,
does. Yeah. When you
right.
have to piece information together, it's much easier if you have a slight backing or your basics in those certain sections are covered. Yeah.
Yeah, so probably doing like coaching sheets and doing the
Mm.
basic books and all is something that is like needed out of you,
Yeah.
and not leave AR altogether. Right. I
Altogether.
think
Yeah.
that's a fair observation. Anish, you want to ask any questions, Abhi?
Yeah, so this is a very cliched question, but the situation demands it to be asked here. So you are currently in your 12th. So how did you manage your class 12th with your board exam, your preparation for pre-boards or boards? Both, I'm not even sure if you are preparing right now. But how did you manage your school with ALET and CLAT preparation? Did you like sit at home, took a med leave or something, or did you go through the like? Did you go to the school daily, or what was that?
Uh, okay, so since I was very clear, so I'm a commerce student. I wanted to take arts, but I ended up just doing commerce, and I'm in the ISC stream. So it is the portions and everything else is a little bit more. And our school timings were very skewed. So it was 8 to 3:30, and I would get back home only by say 5:15, 5:30 because I also live far away from my school. So I kind of had this understanding with my school that see, when it comes closer to class, I'm not going to come. So
Hmm.
in the since I don't think I attended school after November, mid-November, and even before that I kept taking leaves. So in terms of a med leave, I don't really have one, but I'm just hoping that the school understands at this point.
Just show
But yeah,
them your rank and they'll agree to it.
Yeah. That's honestly something I'm banking on. So yeah, that
Yeah,
that was my entire thinking. That if this gets sought, then I can deal with everything else later. Like everything else is of a much lower priority than this. So
yeah,
and with regards to academics, I'm a commerce student and I've dropped accounts. So ISE gives you that option of dropping one subject. So I have
mm,
very basic subjects in terms of commerce, business studies, economics, and English. Those are the only four subjects I have. So with regards to studying, I didn't do much of that either. Because it's in December, I think in most streams except science, I can't speak for science. You can afford to kind of balance your prep out that way, where you give your biggest priority to CLAT and then do everything else later. With regards to extracurriculars, most of them finish by the month of December in all colleges, I guess. So you kind of have to sacrifice on that. But that's what you have to do for the prep.
yeah. So we'll now talk about CLAT. We are not sure if we'll be fortunate even to fortunate enough to have you again for a post CLAT interview. So what was your strategy for CLAT? You have been preparing for 3 years now. So did you like strategize yourself now, like in the initial years, I will focus on my reading speed and then I'll start giving mocks, or was it mocks from the very starting that I'll read for 5 days and then give a mock? Like some people prefer to complete a bit of syllabus. I'm not sure what that syllabus is, but they prefer to like take 3 4 months or like 6 months even to complete the syllabus for CLAD and then start giving mocks. So what was your strategy regarding mocks?
Uh, okay, for me, because I started that early, the one
Yeah,
thing on my advantage was I had the luxury of time. So I didn't attempt mocks till I think beginning of 2021, and even that I used to do them. I wasn't very serious back then. Back then I was clear with what I wanted to do, but I never ended up putting my best for the entire 3 years. I don't think that is sustainable also,
Yeah.
because even 1.5 years and a little bit more of proper studying, even that leads to fatigue in the end, especially near October, November, where I just felt like whatever I was doing wasn't really having an effect in terms of accelerating or improving my score. But in terms of the strategy in the beginning, I was one of those guys who thought I'll finish up something before starting mocks. So I didn't have a problem with reading speed because I think this is common to a lot of CLAT aspirants. I used to read a lot, and not even books, just the newspaper. I used to have a slightly concerning fascination with the newspaper, where my family would stop me from reading the newspaper post a certain point because I used to go through every word of it. And apart from that, books, yeah. So that kind of gave me an advantage with regards to reading speed. So I didn't really have to work on that. Uh, yeah, but with regards to syllabus, there's nothing much you can cover. A lot of your studying, even with regards to your concepts in legal, happens during the mocks. So most of my legal revisions and my legal understanding and clarity in concepts has come from the mocks and classes. So there's no real studying you can do because the legal that they give you is very basic in nature. Uh, the provisions are very basic in nature. Whatever you learn is very basic in nature. Just that you have to remember them. So studying them continually and memorizing them is of absolutely no use whatsoever because they're just going to give that to you in writing. And if you have a flawed understanding in your initial couple of prep months with regards to legal concepts, that is going to be much harder to overcome later. So you'd rather not have an understanding than try to revise things before writing mocks. So I'd say start mocks as early as possible, but at the same time, give yourself that little time in the first few months to
yeah.
understand what the exam is about, what you want to do, and give yourself that freedom. Understand what you're good at, how you want to approach certain sections. Yeah, that's about it
So
for me.
how many mocks did you give in total in your 2 years of journey?
I never kept a record of them. I tried to, but
Still a
I
rough idea.
yeah, I did a lot of mocks towards the end. So the last 6 months I've been doing, I think, almost three mocks a week. Okay, not 6 months. Since August, I've been doing three mocks a week. Since August, September, three to
Right.
four mocks a week. And before that, it was just one mock a week. So should be around like 100, 150.
Yeah. Nice. Aditya, you wanna take a question?
Yeah, I think with regards to mocks, I think I have like talked to so many people here at NLS also in my batch, and I mean at other way, I mean your in your batch as well, right? People who have done well, I think one common link is that all of them focused a lot on mocks, right? And I think getting good quality mocks is something very important because there is this one particular phase when you know that I'm writing more mocks than the number of than the number that that I basically have with me, right? So and that's that basically that's the time when you know that there are so many mocks available in the market, but which ones to choose, right? So if you could like give us some like ideas to how did you like choose your mocks, and were you like redoing your mocks, or did you always attempt like newer mocks, or did you like reattempt the ones that you had already given as well?
Okay, so reattempting the mocks never sat right with me. I never took that into consideration also. Not because I remember the answers of the passage, because there have been mocks that I've written that had the same passage and the same questions, and I've got everything wrong also, from which I would have got right the previous time. So that memory thing didn't really affect me. I just didn't want to do mocks I'd already done, because there's also a certain interest level that comes while reading
Yeah,
a passage, where you want
Yeah.
to know what is next, or you're kind of following what they're saying. And if you've already read it, then there's no point, because because in your head you're already thinking of the questions, because if you recognize that this is a passage I've read, you try to skim the passage, and then you end up screwing up the questions. So
yeah,
with regards to the mocks available, uh, a big thing is, okay, so Telegram is the biggest source in terms of clat prep. Don't rely on it. 99% of the mocks are very, very bad. If probably if even the mocks in your coaching centers, every mock is not going to be good, and
yeah,
and you have to recognize that, because that can have the biggest adverse impact on your prep, where it is a very, very bad mock, and you have of course done very badly because the mock is very bad, and then you end up going in that cycle of what am I really doing here, which can have a huge impact. So I think that is the most important thing of picking your mocks, and knowing what to do and which mocks to do. I think that's where NLTI really helped me, where I had another source apart from my coaching, because up until then my coaching was the only thing I could rely on, and after that it was just NLTI and coaching that I could rely on. So because it's entirely run by NLS students, they
Yeah.
know what the questions are, what the passages are. So I think it was very similar to CLAT, especially in logic and English. Uh, Actually, even in legal, apart from the fact that what the consortium did is they just did not include any conventional legal topics in the paper. But in terms of logic and English, it really helps. And you can recognize whether a mock is good while you're writing it.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
in the back of your head, you know. So there are so many centers which now just seem like permutations and combinations of the same name, whether it's prep, law, and multiple other kinds of things. Clat, it's just a gross rearrangement of words. So don't
Yeah.
rely on anything and everything you see. There are again, see, uh, th- this isn't just, don't completely rely on what I'm saying. So don't just see a mock and say that I don't know this center. I won't even give it. I won't even read the mock. It's fine if you don't want to attempt the mock itself as a mock, but you can read through a mock, just kind of analyze how that mock is, and then try to look at that center. But an
Hmm.
NLTI, in my opinion, just gives you an assured standard in mocks, where almost I don't think it has ever been a very, very bad mock. Most of the mocks are at the standard of the most reputed coaching centers, if not higher. So that really helps. Don't just go around doing random mocks, and don't do more than three to four mocks a week. Because another thing is, for me, I couldn't do a mock continuously. So if I do a mock today, tomorrow, the mock tomorrow would certainly go worse than the mock I've done today, because I just have that fatigue in my head, right? So just try to understand what works for you, whether an alternate day mock system works. But initially, please just don't write three mocks a week, because you'll
Yeah.
just be very, very fatigued even when it comes to July. Say you're writing the CLAT 24 paper, and if you start doing three mocks in February, you're going to be done by the time of July. You won't have any more quality mocks to do. So just kind of pace yourself in terms of doing mocks. Yeah, that's about it.
yeah. Because I think the same thing does not even work for coachings as well. Coachings or anybody who's providing you mocks, right? I mean, there is I think one conscious effort that we made that we didn't want to give you like more than one mock a week, because we already knew that we I mean, you're already solving your coaching mocks, you already have certain commitments. We don't, I mean, if we want, we can give you like 3 mocks every week, but we know that you can't do any work with them if you're writing 3 mocks of one particular institute in like say a week, right? And the quality of questions also reduces. I mean, it,
Yeah.
Yes.
it, it drops down
It's always
substantially.
better to try permutation combination. Like you give one CL mock, one LE mock, and one NLTI mock. This is the strategy that I suggested to most of the aspirants, that you should give like 3 mocks and all three of different coaching, so you get the idea of questions, the diversity of questions. Like we pick most of the questions from economist, on essays, and good coach, like good website. But somewhere or the other, like these coachings might also pick passages from Legally India, or I'm not like whatever. So yeah, this ensures quality as well as diversity, and also a good standard. Krishna, I wanted, like, before we started the session, you talked about your GK notes. Like, I'm not sure if those were 600 pages or 600 topics. So, like, do you want to throw light on those notes? How did you make them? How did you go about GK? How did you research connecting topics? What was the sources for GK? What were the sources for GK, and all about GK that you did?
Got it. Got it. So for
Yeah.
GK, I had a group. So it was me and 2 friends, and
Yeah.
there's this site called Evernote, which I had got from one of the students in NLS. That's Tusha. So because I joined a year early, there was a small amount of time where I used to prep with her, and then she showed me this app, and it's actually really cool. The organization on it is as much as you can get on any online site. So I maintain notes there with my study group. A study group really helps. You can split the notes. I mean, sorry, you can split the sources. The only drawback I'd say for study group is that you don't have contextual understanding of the topics you are reading. So say okay. So how me and my group split it was that every week each of us would take a source. So for each week, one of us would take Drishti, the other would take Mantar, and the third one would take, because we were all CL students, the third one would take news canvas. Uh,
Right.
so we had resources that we used to split, and apart from that, anything that we'd come across in general life, in paper, anything that you hear your parents or anyone else discuss. Uh, just give me a second.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so that's what we did. So, like I said, the drawback is that you don't have contextual understanding. So, say my my friend, if he had read Drishti for a week and added those notes, if I read them 2 or 3 weeks later, I don't know the context with which he's written them. So, while I'm reading them, there's a lesser likelihood I will remember them. So, I have to put more of an effort in reading what another person has added than what I myself have read and written, right? So that is the only drawback, but it really helps in the last month, because for us we tried our level best to not maintain backlog, but we did have backlog only with regards to clat post, and in the end we didn't even finish clat post. Uh, so as much as you try, there may be a possibility that you will have backlog, and that is also when a study group helps, where you can even split the backlog. And with regards to GK notes, we had extremely extensive GK notes. In fact, there have been times where we have repeated topics, so we would have added them in the previous month, but we just add them again because we found something new, or we have just forgotten that we have added them. So
Yeah.
in the end, our GK notes were just, it was very extensive, but we could get through. I think the entire thing in the last 2-3 days before CLAT. So and reading your GK notes before CLAT, it gave me a confidence before walking into the paper, where I
Yeah.
thought whatever happens, I'll get a decent score in GK. So GK was never my strong point. So I never got a 30 plus in any mock in my GK. But and at one point I was lagging even when compared to my partner. So that's when I was like, I decided I just need to get a good score in GK and ensure that it's not something that ends up being my undoing. So the GK notes was really helpful in that, more in terms of a confidence basis. And in AILET, I think almost all of the questions that came we had covered, except a couple of the badminton sports ones. Everything else we had covered, so we had an idea of that.
Yeah, I think I have a follow-up question there. I think Clad GK surprised all of us, right? It surprised us like pretty badly, to be very frank. But I think I was talking to a few of my friends here also, right? So so basically your notes, the kind of notes you made with your friends, were technically the way probably Rishabh, Kanishk, and Pranshu also made their notes, right? It's more or less
Yeah.
similar. But like, okay, let's assume that the GK section of like your year is similar in CLAT 24 as well. If we have to tweak anything in these GK notes, would you say that along with like writing down all this GK stuff, you should also probably add a few articles that probably add that context? So, for
Yeah.
example, if you're writing notes of say FIFA, you should also probably, if you find across this article that deals with the Liberian president's son playing for USA and all that,
Yeah.
adding that to the notes is also something that adds to the kind of notes that you're making. That
Got it.
adds
Got
to
it.
the context. Would you
Yeah.
suggest that?
Okay, I'd suggest reading those articles, don't add, because then you'll just get overwhelmed in the end because there'll just be too much to do. And there is no
Okay.
way you'll be able to cover it. So read it, and actually those small kind of things like the Liberian president's son playing for USA, those things stick with you. That's like trivia. It's like a quiz question.
Yeah.
That was actually a quiz question that I had in some old high school quiz I went to. That's the only reason I remembered that Liberian president question. So don't ignore like these small things. So I'm going to say something very cliched and probably even cringe that the consortium had mentioned, that be curious. Okay, it might seem very vague and very reductive to aspirants, but any small thing you find that of course you can't go into depth of into the depth of anything you find, but there are going to be some things that you find interesting. So never stop yourself from going and reading about that to a certain extent. Like, there was an entire phase where I had to, while making GK notes, I had to stop myself from going into like depths of Wikipedia pages that you just go on reading.
Yeah, yeah.
So if the consortium is going to do what they did this year again, then it is going to be a slightly trivia based, and it's just going to have random
Yeah.
facts. So if that's the combination that they're going for, facts and trivia, then your GK is only going to get you so far. Because I don't think a single legal topic came in GK this year, and we had memorized like articles and absolutely random things. And in the end, I ended up putting Pratibha Patil's tenure wrong. Because I was so frustrated with the GK, I forgot that Pranab Mukherjee existed. So you have to account for those small things that are going to happen in the exam. But I think something that the 24 aspirants will have as an advantage is that they are going to expect a bad GK, because we thought your paper was a one-off.
Yeah.
Apparently not. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So I think okay. So I think with respect to the thing that you're saying, right? That be curious. A lot of people while they're preparing for CLAT, they will take drops. They will sit at home. They will sit in like PGs, and they will completely isolate themselves. And their only source would be say the drishti or anything and everything that you come across for GK specifically. But I think when I was discussing the paper with Akshat even on YouTube, I said that somebody who was probably doing, I mean, this is sacrosanct, but somebody who's also had a Reddit account or a Twitter account
yeah,
would have done better in the GK section, right?
yeah,
So I think one insight that we can draw is that you cannot shut yourself from everything that is happening around you. You need to be updated with like even the Twitter news. It's what's trending because who
yes,
knows,
yes,
they
yes.
might give you a question that which was the most used hashtag this year, right? So I think
Yeah,
that's an
fully
insight.
possible. Yeah, it is. Uh, Being online might not be the worst thing during your class prep. Insta is a little bit of a distraction, but Twitter actually really helps in terms of perspective. If it has sources for articles, if your feed is structured even to a certain extent, you are going to find certain great articles by researchers, by other eminent academicians. That is going to help you in terms of the context, and at other times you'll just find random memes that might give you some information that they may ask. So
Yeah,
like I said, don't isolate yourself with just drishti and your manthans and your clack post, because that is just, it's rote data. It is just point after point after point after point, and at some point of time you are going to get frustrated with it. So there's no point just sticking to that always. uh, like I said, the articles, uh, if you're preparing with other people, what may help. I didn't implement this to the fullest, but sharing articles that you actually find interesting more than more interesting than informative, because it also gives you a slight respite from just thinking about what you're doing, especially in the last couple of months. So yeah, like I said, that would really help. And yeah, being online might have fetched you more marks in this GK paper than maintaining notes.
Right. Anish.
I don't think I have anything to say. Aditya, if you have any other question, you can ask. Otherwise, we'll close it here.
Right. So, I mean, I'll ask a few questions because I think he was part of the NLTI ecosystem for like approximately 3-4 months, right? So,
He was also in
Kisna,
the
I
super.
think you were also
Yeah.
in the Super 30 batch that we created, and the whole idea was that to like bring toppers from probably almost all coachings together, so that you guys get to share like your
Yeah.
insights as to what's happening in your prep. So, like, like, was it useful? Would you recommend that? And the whole NLTI ecosystem in general. What is like your feedback?
Yeah, so the NLTI ecosystem is very, very wholesome. It's in terms of the entire thing, the mentors and everyone running it don't treat you like juniors. It's very, very peer oriented. So and even the Super 30 group, where there's just a lot of fun happening going around. I'm not a person who engages in it a lot. Also because a slight bit of a language barrier in terms of Hindi, but
Yeah.
apart from that, it is very, very wholesome. And some question that someone else asks and a mentor answers that is going to help. In no way will that not help you. And the entire Super 30 system, it motivates you to a slight degree. There are times when you see like a really high score and you're like, what is happening? There have been mocks that I've got like a 70, and I've seen people get 115. I mean, this is almost double. Like, what is going on here? But then, after that initial part of you feeling bad or feeling a little demotivated, you end up getting to what the problem is. Uh, uh, this is even applicable to your coaching. So, like, I think many people have said that the ranks that your coachings publish might not always be accurate. So, always have an understanding of where you are in terms of the mock, how you have done in the mock. It's not always score dependent. Uh, Immediately after you write a mock, you have a vibe that you get of I could have done more in this mock. I did as much as I could, or I have exceeded what I
Yeah.
could have done. Right. So. Rely on that. And coming back to the entire NLTI ecosystem part of it, the mentors really had, because it's a very human side to what NLS is. Because for someone whose dream NLS has been for like the longest time, it almost seems like a superficial concept. I don't know if this makes any sense whatsoever, but it's like this place you've seen the photographs of the library, and but then you actually get to interact with people from there, and they are very, very normal. So it almost gives you a understanding that I can do this. Like, this is a very doable thing. So it gets you to a point where where it just instills a confidence in yourself, where you feel like I have put a certain amount of effort. I am going to put in a certain amount of effort. It's just about giving yourself that best opportunity, and I think NITI really helps you with that with regards to material. Also, this is not just with regards to the Super 30 group. I think it should happen on the normal group. There should be 10 GK questions every day. I think that was a superb concept because it really, really helps you stay in touch. Not just with like whether you got it right or wrong, but you're more likely to remember it if you get it wrong, and it's usually much more relevant than your other revisions, because in your other revisions you're just going through a lot of random stuff. Even I think Legal Edge also provides like daily updates, but they're just very, very random. While these are structured as proper questions that they will ask you. So also it gives you a slight community vibe to the entire thing, which kind of helps because you end up knowing people. And say you get into NLS or a top college, you are probably going to know someone at least when you go there. So yeah,
Yeah.
that would probably help in like
I
Yeah,
mean,
amalgamating.
Kisna, you talked about. Sorry, Aditya, I want to go. Kisna, you talked about that feel after a mock. So, what did you feel after giving CLAT? Did you think you'll clear it, or did you think you're lacking somewhere? What about GK? What about maths? Did maths do you off? Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually was disappointed only with math, because with everything else I thought like there wasn't a lot more I could have done. This was with regards to me. Immediately after the paper, I just came out and I was like, "What is happening here? Like I've wasted 3 years of my life." That 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 was just my initial response. But after that, I realized that I haven't done too badly in it. Like I always know that I haven't done too badly, but I did not know whether I had done well or very well. So when I came out of the paper, after, that evening only, I think the answer key came. So
Interesting.
once I corrected the paper, I figured out that there isn't a lot I could have done, because the English passages were very long, and you had to rush through them. So you, because it is the paper, so you are going to try to maximize time. So after the clat paper, I didn't really feel like I could have done a lot more. But once I corrected, I realized that if I would have been a little more calm during GK, I could have I could have 105, 106 was very gettable in this paper, because a lot of the GK was like you could work it out. If you just took a minute and stabilized yourself, it would have been much easier. With regards to the rest of the paper, I was very calm. Uh, I saw that the English was wrong. I saw that the legal and logic were quite standard actually. But with regards to the paper, I saw the English was wrong. English was very long, and it didn't really get to me a lot. The only thing that got to me was the GK, which ended up in me screwing up the GK a little bit. But then I kind of recovered that later. So at the end of the paper, I was reasonably satisfied with how I did. It was fine.
Great. Aditya, do you have anything to say?
No, I mean, I think we will have a lot. We will have a lot to talk about once he's here. I mean, hopefully
Yeah.
he's here, and I think that was more or less everything that we wanted to talk about. I just had this last question because I think that's one question that we generally face on a day to day basis at NLTI. Is that all right? I go to a coaching institute, all right, they teach me XYZ things, they give me this sheet, they give me this whole material, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to write mocks. Why am I supposed to pay extra to get these NLTI services, and how does that complement your preparation? I mean, can you work without it? And okay, considering that even if you can work without it, why is it important? And if you go ahead and purchase these services, what are the additional benefits that you derive?
Huh. Okay, so I'd like to link this to another question you asked with regards to picking and choosing mocks, right? So a mock from each center is going to give you a certain amount of things. So each center will give you a different benefit to their mock. So CL has a certain thing, Legal Edge has a certain thing, and NLTI has a very niche thing. So NLTI gives you a slight amalgamation of both LE and CL. I feel where the English and logic section are similar to legal edge in terms of quality, but the legal I think is the difference maker, where it is very similar to the CLAT paper. Legal is bad. Here in NLTI, it gives you a very realistic understanding of how the paper is going to be. So the paper, in my opinion, was very similar to the NLTI mocks, apart from the math section and of course the
Yeah.
GK. But with everything else, it is with the reading sections, it is very helpful. And the another major thing I'd like to highlight is because it's made by NLS students, uh, their their knowledge levels are much higher than your average Joe writing or creating just random mocks on Telegram. So the quality of passages you get are just exceptional. Now, actually, I haven't really paid attention to this. Do you guys mention the source at the bottom of the
Sometimes
passage?
I
Sometimes.
used to mention sometimes.
Yeah. There was also an instance where a passage we asked like 2 days back, and 2 days later, the consortium asked the same passage in sample paper too.
Yeah,
The same
exactly.
passage.
Yeah, I remember writing that sample paper. I was like, yeah, I've seen this passage. So the
Yeah.
types of passages you get is also very similar to CLAT, because these are guys who have been preparing for 2 years themselves. They've written the paper, they've written various number of mocks, and now they're training other people who are a year younger to them. So it is only going to get better. So the extra thing that NLT or mocks they add is it gives you a very realistic understanding of what the paper is going to be. It is not too short. It's not unnecessarily long. The questions make sense. Uh, it isn't a direct translation of Hindi where you can't really the grammar doesn't make sense. Another huge thing is the NLTI grammar is very very good. I actually it might seem like a minor thing, but while writing a mock, bad grammar can throw you off in terms of
Yeah.
of your next passage, where, where you just try to make sense of something, you can't really figure it out, and you go to the next passage and you're just like,
I
what
mean,
just happened?
Anish, I feel good about the fact that I was making the English section after listening to him.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
what if he's talking about Tarun Ashok's passages? You never know.
I mean, he wrote all the mocks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are some mocks which I've not entered on the portal, but because like I've not written them in the time frame. I think there's been times that I've asked Anish, please extend no that portal deadline today. I want to write the mock. So yeah, so yeah, so NLTI in terms of material, I'd say sometimes has an edge over all the coaching institutions, and in terms of the price, it is a fraction of what you would pay for even the test series of your coaching institute, and you're just the value for money is incredible, and the exposure and the interaction you get with not just the students of NLS but other people preparing with you, because even if it's not in a very direct way in terms of the ranks or anything else, it gives you an idea of where you are lacking, what you need to do, and all of those kind of things. It is undoubtedly a great investment in terms of material alone, but then also you have other things added to it, which just makes it better. I'd say. So yeah, it's a very unique concept that these guys are doing. So and like I said, it just gives you so much more than what a regular coaching institute would. And sorry, just one last thing in terms of faculty. These guys they at the same time function like mentors, as peers, and as faculty, because depending on where you live and the quality of your coaching center and the quality of that outlet of your coaching center, the faculty you get is completely it varies a lot. For me in Bangalore, I got very very lucky in terms of my faculty, where they're very very right, very very smart people, and at the same time can kick and leap, keep it light, and I've been in it for so long that they know what they're talking about. And
Yeah.
I understand that everyone across the country do not always get that opportunity. So this is as close as you'd get to say good faculty. Uh, again, again, maybe not with regards to the experience of law as a career, but with regards to the paper specifically, they can probably give you a lot.
Right. Thank you so much, Kisna, for joining us today. It was a very pleasure interacting with you, and we look forward to having you at NLS and treating you. NLTI sponsored
Thank you.
treats you.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And we are really proud of you. We might not have said it to you till now, but yeah, we are really proud of you and congratulations to you for cracking CLAT as well as AILET.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, where I mean, the good thing is you already have a third year and a second year. You already know a third year and a second year in your
Yeah, yeah.
batch. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
uh,
So let's
congratulations, and
Thank
we
you.
hope you also become a part of the NLTI initiative.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah,
yeah. Cool. Okay, Kisna, bye bye. Take care.
yeah,
Do let us know your CLAT ranks ASAP as soon as it comes
Done, done,
out.
done,
Yeah.
done.
Okay, bye bye. See you.
yeah.
Bye.